Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, decides to start arguing with them, being combative.
Yeah.
And now they leave without a deal. And if the U.S. says no, the war is over.
Zelenskyy landed in the United States aware of what the president's position was. Like, he knew what the administration thought. This was basically just supposed to be a photo op. It was just so that they could get some FaceTime. The intent was to kind of like mend the bad blood they had. And Zelenskyy made the issue when they had a disagreement about what kind of security guarantees they were going to be. Zelenskyy wants Ukraine to be in NATO, and Zelenskyy wants American troops to be in Ukraine to guarantee the success, or to guarantee the safety, and to guarantee that Putin won't be an aggressor. The United States, essentially, their position is, we want to have rights to the minerals and stuff, and so we want to have economic deterrence, basically, because if the United States has businesses in Ukraine, that will deter Putin from taking any more territory. It'll deter a war, because the likelihood of having some kind of incident with Americans dying raises, and so that will be the deterrent. That wasn't good enough for Zelenskyy. Normally, this kind of negotiation will happen behind closed doors, so they can swear at each other, call each other's names, be aggressive, be angry, and then when you go ahead and talk to the actual press, everybody's kind of calm and chill. But Zelenskyy made the issue in front of the press, and that was a terrible move, because Trump had already had a sour taste. Zelenskyy came to Pennsylvania and was campaigning for Joe Biden. So then to come to the new administration, I think this is the first time that Zelensky's met with President Trump, and to do that in front of the press and make an issue that's bad, it's a terrible way to try and force a change in policy. When he knew that the United States had already made a decision on what they were looking for.
I do have a clip here. This is a very long one, so I don't know if it's the. Do we have audio working on this? I'm not sure if we have the audio on this one. No.
This is such a good video. This is like, I highly recommend this video, dude.
I mean,
I don't think we have audio.
This is great.
Seeing that begging, grubby little welfare queen Zelenskyy basically get dressed down and have his butt handed to him by Trump and J.D. Vance. It was the moment that Americans have been waiting for the past 3 years. Hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
I was shocked. On our way here, we saw some canvassers for the ACLU.
Yeah,
they were waving to people. And we talked a little bit before the show about, I used to do fundraising. You're pitching, you're selling, you are begging someone, please help me, give me your money.
Yes.
I was flabbergasted at Zelenskyy sitting down with the most powerful military, the utmost wealth, where he is in a position that if the U.S. says, I'm sorry, we're done, the war ends overnight, and he had the nerve to argue, you don't know what you're talking about, what reports have you seen, to J.D. Vance, instead of saying, I understand, I'm sorry, but please, we really do need your help. Let me know what you need, because we will do anything. This is a man who doesn't understand the position he's in. The arrogance was shocking.
Yeah. That moment where he said, and this was right before Trump went off, when he said, well, you have a beautiful lake, well, perhaps one day you'll see, perhaps one day you'll see. My mind was blown at that. The audacity, the arrogance to sit there next to Trump, and man, Trump said what everybody has been wanting to say to that little welfare queen for years. It was an incredible, incredible moment. It really was.
I know it was.
I'm glad the cameras were on.
Yeah, when JD started talking is when Zelenskyy snapped. Like, he could handle it. I didn't watch the first 20, 30 minutes. I popped in for the last 15 of salaciousness, and JD just goes at him, and Zelensky's probably like, who is this guy? Now this is VP? Staging authority over him? I'm the president. I'm the leader.
I think one of the big moments was when J.D. Vance mentioned the Biden administration.
Yeah.
And then Zelenskyy got all angry. Instead of recognizing the power structure, the sentiment of the American people, and the position he was in, he had the nerve to talk and snap back.
Yeah, he interrupted JD, and then that's when Trump really dropped the hammer, when he interrupted JD. Trump doesn't have time. I mean, he doesn't seem to have time for disrespect.
Yeah, and the thing with JD is that the JD shade is classy. The JD shade is very classy. It's very thoughtful when JD dresses you down. But then when Trump just drops the hammer and he dresses you down like, your boss, like, I worked at KFC when I was like 19 years old in the military. Like when your boss is like screaming at you because like you really effed up, right? And so
well, didn't Zelenskyy say something like, I read it as a veiled threat. The clip, Trump said something like, you're in trouble and you don't know it or something, and Zelensky said something like, well, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Yes.
Then that's when Trump
That
snapped.
moment.
Trump's like, don't tell us how
when he
we're going to.
snapped.
It was a threat.
It was.
When I watched that, I was like, you worm, you worm. And in my full, again, because I was in the Uber, even the Uber driver's like, turn that up. He goes, and I go, I don't know what's going on. I'm just listening to it too. He goes, I can't believe he did that. And I was like, I don't.
You could, if you looked at the body language of other people in the room. I believe it's the Ukraine
she's like,
ambassador was literally face palming.
Yeah.
And if you look at Marco Rubio, he was
like-
staring ice knives at Zelensky. I mean, and look, the Secretary of State was confirmed with a unanimous vote. He's essentially kind of the most, I guess, swamp creature that was in the room, the most establishment guy in the room. And he still, right after Zelensky left, he was tweeting his support for what President Trump said. Most of the people that are upset with President Trump are either, one, ideologically possessed already, and no matter what happened, they were going to hate Trump, or they only saw the 2-minute video and they're basing their judgment based on only that. You have to see the whole context. You have to see that they were actually perfectly fine getting along until Zelensky really made a bad decorum move. It was outside of the bounds of normal negotiations, and he really blew it.
He vindicated everything. I was thinking about that when I was walking over here. I was like, man, imagine you're some swampy Republican like Lindsey Graham, who's, we got to worship this hero. I'm like, dude, this video was a gift. And I even posted something like trolly, because I went onto the alternative universe of CNN, and they're all going, well, today was a big victory for Putin. So then I posted something like, was Zelensky under compromise from Putin? Because today clearly gave Putin a win, using their language against them, because that's how dumb these people on CNN are. And I want to just thank Zelensky, because all he did was vindicated everything that we said.
Yeah.
This is a welfare project. This guy is, like when Trump said, you're not a tough guy. We all wanted to say that, bro. Zelensky, you're a cross-dressing comedian. No offense to those who are. I'm actually pretty tolerant. But you put on your little, remember you'd watch G.I. Joe as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Wear that
little
camo.
fatigue.
Yeah, fatigue. I know what you're doing. You're a little G.I. Joe figure.
Look, he's an actor.
Yeah.
Look, this guy was an actor.
Right.
This guy was an actor and a dancer, and he was on the Dancing with the Stars of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
So he's playing a role,
Yeah.
and he's been playing this role. And I think that the reason that he was so emboldened to act the way that he did today is because he's been propped up by all of the crooks that we just kicked out of D.C.
Yes. Yeah.
He has been propped up by these Democrats. He's been propped up by Hollywood. He's been propped up by the mainstream media that he was performing for. And so it was so kismet and so of the moment that we're in right now that this is what happened to him. And he crawled out of there with his tail between his legs.
Think about what Trump is asking. I want mineral rights. We're going to give you weapons. We're going to support you in this war. You're going to win the war. What do we get in exchange? It's a very simple negotiation. Why should the United States fund and basically run their war for them for nothing?
Yeah.
And Zelensky had the nerve to say, you should. That's why.
And not only that, he's making demands about entry into NATO. And that's the thing that Putin says he doesn't want. I'm not in any way like pro-Putin. I know I'm the guy that's like going to say that Putin started the war. He invaded. But at the same time, you have to understand that from Putin's perspective, Ukraine cannot join NATO. That's been a sticking point. And the United States and the rest of NATO should say, no, Ukraine can't join NATO. We'll come up with other creative ways to ensure your security, but you can't join NATO. And that's the sticking point that Zelensky wants.
They demand that Donald Trump disparage Vladimir Putin mid-negotiation.
Yeah, it's done.
And that's psychotic.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I'm not a politician. I'm not in government. So I got nothing. I got no dog in this race. Vladimir Putin is a scumbag. I think he's a terrible guy. That's fine. If I was going to negotiate with the man on a peace deal, I'd be saying he's very smart. He's a clever guy. Don't underestimate and don't disrespect him, because I'm trying to win favor.
Yes.
Zelensky doesn't seem to understand that. You can hate Donald Trump. You can think he's the dumbest guy in the world, and you're about to ask him for $100 billion.
Yeah.
You kiss his ass.
The whole
You get
of the
more
left
fries
is
with honey than you do with vinegar, right?
Yeah, the whole of the left wants to see someone that actually threatens Putin, but then doesn't actually do anything. They want the United States to talk the big talk, as opposed to speak softly and carry a big stick. They want to speak loudly and then not actually do anything to back it up. That was the way with Barack Obama. That was the way with Joe Biden, and they want Donald Trump to behave that way, and that's not how you enter these negotiations.
And real quick before I have to go in here in a few, do you guys want to talk about like a download of what was talked about and that got buried in all the like lunacy and everything?
Yeah.
So the foreign policy thing, there's a couple of things especially of interest to all of us, but Darren Beatty is dismantling the whole censorship complex within the State Department, which is amazing. That was what was frustrating about yesterday is I had all these notes and I was ready to do this. And Putin did come up in the briefing, and the briefing was just very like realpolitik, which is, hey, do you guys not know that Russia has more tactical nukes than any other country, and second to us has more strategic nukes than anyone else? And do you know that Russians actually very close to China, and that the closer that they get together, that means Russia has to intervene for China. So if China invades Taiwan, then Russia kind of has to get involved because China can call the tune to that. So maybe dealing with Putin as a rational actor, because this is a problem people have. It's easy for us to say Putin is like a bad guy. Okay, great. There's a lot of bad people in the world, whatever, right? But you still have to deal with them. That's where this like childishness comes in with a lot of people in left-wing media, and unfortunately in the right-wing media is, great, you can vent your spleen. Because there was a lot of controversy about some people visiting the U.S. yesterday, and so I was like, thank God I missed that whole conversation because of this other nonsense. But there's like people just act like they can just pretend somebody doesn't exist, and then you can vanish them, which you can't do. And then they act like a world leader is someone you can just ignore. And they don't think about, okay, so what if Russia gets closer to China? Then China moves on Taiwan. China's calling the tune. So maybe it would be better for us to deal with Russia in a more responsible way, because in that we have a stronger interest in Taiwan than we do Ukraine. So if you look at a rational foreign policy, you would say, okay, we'll get the minerals from Ukraine. We'll tell Putin, hey, you can have these eastern places anyway. They all spoke Russian. They never even wanted to be part of Ukraine. That's why I hate the whole Putin invaded. Putin invaded places that were being bombed by the Azov battalion, the Tornado battalion. The militias were killing people who were ethnic Russian. This was all documented, but then we got to pretend like history started in 2022. So as a foreign policy thing, the Trump world is very adult. The adult is it going to make us safer, stronger, more prosperous? That was like, and people can give us a talking point, whatever. Here's the talking points. The foreign policy is, will it make us safer, stronger, and more prosperous? So is beefing with Putin going to make us safer? How? Is it going to make us more prosperous? How? Is it going to make us stronger? How? We're depleting our weapon stockpiles. So there is a logic to the foreign policy, where with the moralism is very nice. We can all be moral purists all the time because we're all so holy, and everybody else are the sinners. But we're so holy. We're priests. But Rubio and them, they're kind of just, we're going to be adults here. And if this isn't going to make us safer, stronger, more prosperous, then we have to do something different.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.